Isaiah chapter 58 and verse 1. Cry aloud, spare not, lift up thy voice like a trumpet, and show my people their transgressions, and the house of Jacob their sins.
Copyright disclaimer. This content does not belong to Bible Chronicles or claim this intellectual property. The content provided today has and always will belong to the content owner. Bible Chronicles does not have any affiliation with the owner of this property. As mentioned, Bible Chronicles does not intend to make use of any material for the purpose of harvesting gain. However, Title 17 of United States copyright law states material in use can only be done when it's for theological or general educational purposes, and thus Bible Chronicles believes that this principal material falls under fair use, which honors protection under Section 107 of the same U.S. copyright law.
Los fantasmas del pasado no se detendrán hasta verte derrumbado. Peores lo hemos pasado. Andaba a golpes con la tristeza, me aportó riqueza, me otorgó sabiduría, pues se dibujaba en todas mis piezas. Yo con alegría le daba color después. La aguja sigue girando, tiempo parece burlar de mí. Dijo que sanaría esperando, pero creo que la espina aún sigue ahí. Con los dedos lo voy palpando, cierro los puños, escapa de aquí. Agonizando, el tiempo, no voy a esperar por ti.
Nuestras huellas en la orilla se han borrado por la marea. Si esas estrellas ya no brillan, las entiendo pa' que veas. Sea donde sea, bajo la tormenta o dentro de la odisea, donde arañas cubren el cielo de tela, los aviones nadan y los barcos vuelan. Aunque parezca que va bien, no sabes bien si va mal. Besos que pueden doler, ojos que pueden matar. Tengo mi alma en el almacén encerrada, mi corazón está en huelga, mis sentimientos en ámbar. Gente que la mala dijo que estaría presente, fallaron como nunca, se fueron para siempre. Millones de razones para vengarme, pero a veces duele más actuar indiferente.
Como no quieren ver ahogados, tenemos branquias y cerrados los bronquios como la mente de un guardia. Yo soy la montaña y vine con la cordillera. Más cojones que tu ganga tiene una madre soltera. Tú cúbrete si suena mi tu. A mi lado tengo soldados fumando de su palulú. Ni un conjuro de grimorio me lo salva del velorio. Pa' tener pila valorio se matan vestidos de emporio. Yo no quiero una pistola, estoy soñando que la vida que quería me llega a tiempo. Desde que yo la vi sola, loco ando. Vino a verme cuando el sol se estaba poniendo y se dejó una pluma y se perdió en la bruma. Nunca se despidió de mí, nunca se despidió de mí.
Vivo en un mundo que parece roto y sé que no, porque todo es perfecto y lo debo plasmar. Me fumo un trocolor tras otro y lo veo todo otro color. Me siento libre porque vuelvo a conectar. Mi gente sufre y no lo puedo evitar, más que dándole consejos siempre desde la humildad. Es su camino hacia la fraternidad. Solo puedo que enseñarles a respetar y amar. Con esta bendición, como no voy a aprovechar los códigos que llegan, los tenemos que aceptar. Si me reencarné fue para ayudar y no para malgastar mi tiempo en beneficio del mal. En la unión nace la fuerza y eso nos hace juntar las ganas que siempre tuvimos para iluminar a la gente que se le ocurra y la malla armonizar. Vinimos para dar fuego a la que no nos va a quemar.
Arda y por dentro la llama, no puedo contener la ras. Churruscao el corazón, el armazón no puede llegar a pesarme más. Si abro la boca, tu tumba al suelo, me muelo a diario y sobrado de gas. Escupo risas perfectas, paladas de versos eternos, no mueren jamás. Cuando acabe mi condena, me vi muy solo y perdido. Cada vez más negra la flema, más elegante el problema, pero planté cara a todos mis enemigos. Recuperé las ganas, las fuerzas y el garbo. Dedico requiems a mis diablos, que aquí estoy vivo de milagro. Delicadas flores crecieron entre los cardos. Me dicen bien, es más delgado que de costumbre. Será de tanto que he bailado en el alambre, que a tanta pena es mejor no ponerle nombre. Llevamos la música en vena, nuestra sangre.
Declaraciones.
Un poco sobreiluminados, bueno.
Sí, pues.
Quiero pensar, pero no puedo, no. El ruido en la ciudad está consumiendo, wow. Quieren pensar, sin ni siquiera estar al mando. Tanta publicidad subliminal te está matando. Les cuesta decidir por sí mismos cuál es su mando. Publican sonrisas con el corazón llorando. Quieren brillar, pero sin tener que valerse de tener sus ideas propias. Los veo a todos igual, solo son la réplica de la imitación de una triste copia. Obedece, la vida es un suspiro y envejeces. Te dejas distraer por estupideces y pierdes el eje. Te duele por dentro, entonces te creces, pero aceptas mucho menos de lo que mereces.
te ha dicho a ti que no puedes pensar sobre lo que decís, sobre cómo actuar? Lucha por ser feliz sin a nadie dañar y solo así podrás brillar. ¿Y quién te ha dicho a ti que no puedes pensar sobre lo que decís, sobre cómo actuar? Lucha por ser feliz sin a nadie dañar y solo así podrás brillar. Conserva tu juicio y tu intuición, más activos que el que lucha por lo suyo y no se rinde. Yo ya sé bien cuál es mi misión, y es contarte que el mal por su propio pie pronto se extingue. No caigas bajo su control, pues por la televisión es normal que mal lo pinte. Tú mantente firme en conexión con la fuente de creación, vivirá siempre de fin de.
Dios abre los ojos, dime lo que ves.
A tus propios hijos matándose por billetes. Niños por cada 2 por 3. Pa' unos es bendición, con otros por su causa pequen. Y yo que intento ser un ser crístico, voy bendiciendo hasta los diablos. Piensan que es cierto el mensaje típico, dicen que invento lo del engaño. Y mientras lucho contra mis errores, demonios escucho, me ofrecen soluciones. Pero sé que hay un ángel que quiere que mejore. Me dice haz un trabajo interno antes de que lo ignores, antes que otra vez llores y se llenen los mares de pena y de dolores, ya que en mi mente no caben. La paz no va en un sobre, somos algo importante. Nunca te revelaste y por eso no lo sabes. ¿Y quién te ha dicho a ti que no puedes pensar sobre lo que decís, sobre cómo actuar? Lucha por ser feliz sin a nadie dañar y solo así podrás brillar. ¿Y quién te ha dicho a ti que no puedes pensar sobre lo que decís, sobre cómo actuar? Lucha por ser feliz sin a nadie dañar y solo así podrás brillar.
Me desperté tan cansado, me sentía mal herido de todo lo que he pasado. No me quita lo aprendido, por dentro me he perdonado, pero casi no me olvido. Me desperté tan cansado, me sentía mal herido de todo lo que he pasado. No me quita lo aprendido, por dentro me he perdonado, pero casi no me olvido, no. Todos repiten lo que dice el referente. Discursos vacíos lejos de ser coherentes. De lo que no sabes será mejor que no inventes. Investigues y no te dejes lavar la mente.
¿Y quién te ha dicho a ti que no puedes pensar sobre lo que decís, sobre cómo actuar? Lucha por ser feliz sin a nadie dañar y solo así podrás brillar. ¿Y quién te ha dicho a ti que no puedes pensar sobre lo que decís, sobre cómo actuar? Lucha por ser feliz sin a nadie dañar y solo así podrás brillar.
Quiero pensar, pero no puedo, no. El ruido en la ciudad está consumiendo,
El autor viene a decirnos con mucha firmeza y gran convencimiento lo mismo que nos decía en el siglo XVIII el barón de Holbach, ¿no? Un filósofo francés de origen alemán. Si nos remontamos al comienzo, entonces hallaremos que la ignorancia y el temor crearon a los dioses. La fantasía, el entusiasmo o el engaño los adornaron o desfiguraron. La debilidad les rinde culto, la credulidad los conserva, la costumbre los respeta y la tiranía los apoya para que la ceguera de los hombres sirva a sus propios intereses.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2. All right. Good evening, fam. I'm sure you're surprised that I'm doing a class right now, but I thought it was useful and needed. Brother, he posted a video earlier today, which was very interesting, and it took a while for people to like the video. It was kind of weird, but anyways, I thought I could share it with you all. I got some other documentation to prove to you why this checkerboard is in front of us. We've talked about this in this channel for some time. And a lot of people that are on either side of the color don't really know what's going on. They think they know what's going on. They have no idea that this is one other form of genocide. The erasure of somebody's heritage. The erasure of someone's heritage. Through stealing, whether it's through theory, so-called science, and nowadays they're even using the law, which, again, granted, it also will bite you in the ass. The name of the game today, though, is this here. What are we dealing with? The checkerboard. And I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to show you something very interesting today. Okay? Aside from the videos, I'm going to show you a book. And this book is going to, hopefully clear up some things as well for some of you guys. Because I don't think I've ever brought this book out, to be honest with you. No, I don't have. I don't believe I have. Nope, I don't believe I have. Okay, so we're going to read this in a little bit. Just to show you that we're here for sure. If it wasn't because you fuckers are messing with my indigenous people, if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be saying shit. I could care less. I played this video the other day, a couple days. Let's take our time now because I've just played it. I never talked about it. Let me just say what's up to what up, Europeans will never be Americans. Good to have you here, man. You're probably the only one, maybe one or two people. Okay, well, there's a few. That's all good. So let's get going because, it's late and at least I can get through this. Okay. The video that I have, the brothers posted, which I appreciate. Hopefully, you don't have a problem with that. It's about 30 minutes. So I'm going to try to get through what I have in about an hour and a half or so. Okay. Or less. Maybe. I don't know, man. So follow me here. Let's begin with this. I want to bring this to your attention. All African Americans pretendians hear Codex Art of an African show after they got slave traded. Keep in mind that I showed you guys, and I'm probably the only one that's ever really showed this book on YouTube called Maya Conquistadors. And in that book, you can see several mentions of black padres trying to teach our Maya brothers, supposedly teaching, and in reality, they were just taking advantage of our gente. You know what I'm saying? So this supposedly is a slave. No. This is a padre, a negro padre, holding the cross. Waboism, fake Cherokee wannabe people, descendants of Africa, because that's really the case in this topic that we're talking about, claim to be indigenous. They never mention any of these drawings here. They always want to stick to Curomeo shit. here we see a defining difference between the fellows over here on the left side and the fellows here on the right side. They're not wearing, he is not wearing any fringes. He looks like he's wearing what a padre wears typically. All right, we know that that is right there. That's a cross, definitely. If they were African, quote unquote, why the hell didn't they draw themselves like that? Very true. Okay, bye. So anyhow, I wanted to throw that in there. Now, the reason I'm mentioning this is because of this family. A lot of people are making a big deal about this guy, this Charlie Kirk dude, okay? A lot of making a big deal. They want to make him a saint and all this, you know, whatever. That's their Christian belief. And we've talked about what Christianity really stands for, sun worshiping, paganism. Hey, that's what they believe, so be it. But let's be mindful of what this guy actually was saying.
There was line cutters and border jumpers. And if he did mean immigrants, y'all, you know, surely it's no...
Don't call them immigrants. They're line cutters and border jumpers.
Y'all don't worry. I think he missed...
Don't call them immigrants. Line cutters and border jumpers. Yo, it's funny, which is true. That's a border jumper right there. 200 years ago. You still border jumper. Right. My coworker was like, I'm indigenous. I am indigenous. My family's been here for 200 years. Sure, buddy. Christian identity. Like that, yeah, for sure. So he says that, Mr. fucking super Christian. And again, you know, we people here in this channel, at least I would like to believe, the people that listen to this channel, that we read the Bible. We're not just talking shit. We actually study this book. And I'm hands down, I would have, man, listen, you guys know me, bro. I'm not scared to debate any Christmas Christian, any CK, anytime, any day. Right? I will embarrass you. I'll thrash you guys in pieces. This goes for BHI as well. You see, that's the thing. I'm not a BHI channel. So you don't have no angle on me. All I got to do is ask you about Abraham, and then you're lost in the sauce. It's that simple. But anyways, let's continue.
Spoke. Instead of saying immigrants, I think he meant the people who stormed the Capitol building on January 6th. There was line cutters and border jumpers. And if he did mean immigrants, y'all, you know, surely it's no sweat. Come anyway, because he would want y'all to get pardoned, just like he want the people of January 6th to get pardoned. Don't worry about it, man. Don't worry about it.
So first of all, I appreciate this young man for saying what he said. I don't know what so-called nationality he is, you know what I'm saying? But he's showing love to our people. Maybe he is, you know, you never know, bro. You never know. We're talking about the origin of people here. I'm not denying anybody's so-called facts. Still got to prove it. That's the point. Now, I showed this video before. He made an excellent point at the end. So listen to this real quick. And again, I'm showing you kind of the concept here. I showed you guys about, you know, Charlie Kirk, the so-called Christian martyr. They want to make him assume to that, like you know what I mean? Yes, nobody wants to die that way in front of the children specifically, or in front of people, period. But the fact is that he said a lot of fucking nasty shit, and you can't deny that. It's no different than me, for example. If I was going around saying some horrible shit, I get blasted. And then all of a sudden, my family expects people to respect my, like, nah, bro. Like, people have opinions and emotions, and you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't assume everybody's in a fucking square box. But let's continue.
Now, let me introduce y'all to...
Because I'm going to show you how he is involved in all of this. And it's not just him, it's the checkerboard.
FWA, Foundational White American. I'm not kidding. Take a look.
Yeah, colonials.
You don't look very Native American to me.
I am Native American. Whites are Native Americans. What are you talking about?
You're not.
What are you talking about? Whites are Native Americans.
Really?
I think
what was happening before the 1500s?
I think you're getting confused with it.
I don't mind going on a tangent, but what was happening before the 1500s?
Calm down. I think you're getting...
What was happening before the 1500s?
There was indigenous people here that came here from Asia.
Do you know what indigenous means?
Did y'all hear how similar y'all sound? That's exactly how y'all sound to us. Like that. You see that? You have spent so much time with these colonizers on this land. You started thinking like them. You see that? Similar way of thinking. They believe that they are native. to this land because they've been here for quite some time. Same thing as you. Y'all are both working to erase the Native Americans' story.
I want that to sink in. Let's repeat that for you, if in case you didn't
The
hear.
Native Americans' story. Same thing as you. Y'all are both working to erase the Native Americans' story. That's what y'all doing. Y'all know about.
And that's the point
right,
of
because they've been here for.
that's the point of the topic. Hold on a second. Let me read it real quick. Genocidium, or so-called genocide, right? In Latin, it's called genocidium. So there is psychological genocide, so it's called. Spiritual genocide is physical. In this way, right now, it's very, very psychological. And there's a spiritual power behind that, family. This attack is no joke. Because look, things are, like I told you before, the other day, the guy came out with Valhalla when I did the class on Odin. So that made a connection. And then as I'm trying to understand things that I've shared before, like this video here, so I'm like, okay, these nations are trying to create erasure, right? Okay. Why? Now, if you go into the book, the Bible, like I've shared this with you guys before, you'll start to understand why. You'll start to understand why they don't want to be them, or they want to hide from this, what is potentially going to happen to them and to them. Edom, Canaan. Let's go.
Lineage. I have, so that, you mentioned that I have a European Y chromosome. So that's my father's lineage. I have a European Y chromosome. My father's 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 line is of European ancestry. Is of European ancestry. In fact, my great grandfather was European. My great grandfather was European in Georgia. And I knew that before I actually did the testing. Once I did the Y chromosome test, I found that, lo and behold, I didn't have a African Y chromosome. I had a European Y chromosome. I didn't have a African Y chromosome. I had a European Y chromosome. So it confirmed the oral history of my family. So if you
think about this in slavery times, right? If you think about that, he knowing, let's say back in the 1830, and he knew his great-great-grandfather or grandfather was a white man, and he looked like that, and he had freedom, and his grandfather had slaves. Mind you, the grandfather, quote-unquote, is white, but he looks like that in 1830, and he has a chance to own slaves. How do you think he would look at so-called black folks if he is not technically a so-called African American? But he looks exactly like one, doesn't he? Right? This is why we're getting into the checkerboard. This is why we need to take our time and dissect this chessboard that we're working on. Or checkerboard, I'm sorry. It's black and white checkerboard. We've been talking about this for some time now. Let's continue.
whether I had a Y chromosome from Europe or not, it didn't matter. Whether I had a Y chromosome from Europe or not, it didn't matter.
How many people do you think right now here in the country of ours claims to be native and they're not? Claims not to be so-called a certain nationality and they are. Or claims to be a nationality, like let's say somebody like him, but he didn't know any better. And if he said I'm African American, you would believe him because what you see, because that's propaganda. And propaganda has a lot to do with this word as well, genocidium. Because that's the first thing they start with. As you can see, what occurred in Gaza and what's occurring right now, they literally turned off the internet and phone lines. They're out. Nobody knows what the hell's going on. Nobody online. There's no Wi-Fi shit over there right now at this moment. Look it up. First, they started with propaganda, cursed those people. Then they used laws, right, universal ones, to claim territory. And then genocidium didn't begin in 2007. It's since 1800, since this whole declaration. What's the name of it? Balfour Declaration thing, the Declaration of Balfour, something like that. So you see the microcosm that is occurring over there. This was a long process.
It's all well and good. There's no reason why you wouldn't.
From both angles, family. This is going to be really short. I'm not going to get into this very, very long here. I want you to pay attention to what this girl said, okay?
How about that?
I would hope that they would have done that, but.
So you describe yourself as Black, Native American, and Jewish. Mm-hmm. You've talked.
Hear that? Black, Native American, and Jewish. Really? How fucking convenient, right? Are you serious? Did you do a DNA test? How come when it comes to legal matters that has to do with like penitentiary shit, you are willing to do a DNA test? But again, this is genocidium in the mind and in spirit, because the more this happens, the more propaganda occurs, the more psyops, meaning massive information from different directions with different angles, all having one intent. You kidding me? For real? I told you guys, I said BHI will join WABO, and you know what I mean? This is exactly what I've been teaching since 2022. This union right here.
So you describe yourself as Black, Native American, and Jewish. Mm-hmm. You've talked about how your feelings of feeling accepted on the campus changed after October 7th. What has that been like?
It's been real.
And listen to me, family. This right here, this channel right there, none of this shit at this moment is any good anyways. It hasn't been good in a while, but this is propaganda on the left side. How convenient, huh? So now let's get into the why. Because if you recall what I shared with you guys, I've shared this page with you before. This is from, hold on, let me see if I can find it real quick. I just remembered. I almost forgot. I'm glad I didn't forget. If I have to go through, let me see. I'm going to do it this way. I got to get it. Izzy, come on, go over there. Give me a moment. It's right here. There we go. Okay. Oh, sorry, wrong one. Give me a moment. Right here. Check this out. I want to remind you where this is all coming from. This is from the Solomon Grazel, okay? I cannot remember the book exactly. Let me see. Is it named? No, it's not named. But it's on page 157 on the hard copy. But it's written by Solomon Grazel. It's probably the most popular one, okay? Just keep that in mind. Look what it says here. Friendships and partnerships. In the view of the small population of a colonial America, Jews and Christians were frequently thrown together and learned to cooperate in business, to establish friendships, and to visit one another. It is said that the Jews introduced masonry into the colonies. Do you hear this? Masonry was introduced by the so-called Jews. This is an actual person. of so-called self-proclaimed Jewish descent, Solomon Grazel. Look it up. I'm not making this up. I am simply reading this to you. So, since we know that Masonry, right, has to do with, some wicked shit, how come we have this as well? Official history of Freemasonry among the colored people in North America. In 1717, mind you, because we got people claiming that they were supposedly here originally, fighting for fucking some bullshit story in 1830 something or 40, yet in 1717, you guys were Freemasons? I'm confused here. I thought you were enslaved perpetually. Help me understand. Help me get out of this stupidity. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe I'm just dumb and maybe I'm blind and I don't know what I'm talking about. From 1539, the moment that printing was allowed here in the Americas, all the way through 1831 and 33, nothing was allowed to be printed for us, indigenous people. Nothing. The Catholic Spaniard power made sure of that. Only until 1831 was the first Bible even printed in Spanish at that time. 1831 through 1833. Let me remind you that only by 1905, we were basically a 5% literate. You have to understand how and why that was, why that occurred. Look at the history of Sumarraga. He was the one that made sure never to allow us to write or read about our history or anything, but only to learn the Christian compendium. Yet here we see 1717, Freemasonry among the Negroes. Why is this important? Because we're in this erasure at this moment, at this time right now. We are there right now. Once again, what did she say?
Black, Native American, and Jewish.
Wow, how convenient. Black, Native American, and Jewish. How convenient, huh? Right? Okay. But this is the propaganda. These are the angles. A lot of our people do watch. CNN. Now, what did I talk about? The checkerboard. The checkerboard. Remember I showed this dude earlier? You know what he said? This person here, who is also a racist, by the way, blatantly, and I have videos to prove it, she admitted that she's a Mason. Okay? And I'm going to show this to you. And this is why I mean by checkerboard. And this is why I keep saying Freemasonry has been involved in both of these nations, and they are both lying to you.
In the same club that you ain't in. All of them. All of them. And you know why they make that hand symbol? Because it looks like that. And that's the Freemason symbol. But don't take my word for it. Let's hear what Candace Owens has to say about it. That's a funny looking symbol too. I wonder what that one means. Remember, they love the number 3. As in 1, 2, 3. Funny how they're both making it. He's the supposedly. Now let's hear from Candace.
Those of you who think that you are going to replace Charlie Kirk, okay? Kings are born. You don't just get to depose and tell us that we're going to follow this individual.
Okay, tough girl.
Okay? I'm one of the Masons of Turning Point USA.
Excuse me?
Okay? I'm one of the Masons of Turning Point USA. I'm one of the Masons of Turning Point USA. I'm one of the Masons of Turning Point USA.
Excuse me? Baking powder?
I'm one of the Masons of Turning Point USA.
Oh. Gotcha.
You put a shill in Charlie Kirk's chair, in Charlie Kirk's company.
She's one of the Masons. One of the Masons. You know, the people all on the TV. Like, you can't get on the TV unless you join their elite club. Kind of like all of them That's a funny symbol. It kind of looks like horns to me. And if you think it's I love you, come on. And you can't get on the TV unless you join the club. It's time to figure this out, people. They've been lying to you long enough. But of course, all this for entertainment purposes. I'm sure that every single ever celebrity and government person just happens to be doing this and the devil horns because it's fun and cute for picture's sake only. Come on. Entertainment only. All coincidence.
Right. There's no way. I must be crazy. I must be crazy to believe this. I mean, I must be crazy. But, you know, I kind of found it
The
ironic
Star of David used to be
that, look, what I do see here is when propaganda needs to be pushed at a massive mega byte type of size, you know what I'm saying, information, it's going to come this way. Let's go.
the flag of Morocco. Okay, why? That's weird. It's not a Jewish state. Why? What was going on in Morocco? What was going on in Algeria and Tunisia and Morocco? Andre Gide. We'll get to all of that. Aleister Crowley. What were they doing there? Initiations. Why would they put their hexagram in those countries? Anyways, let me stop because I'm going way too deep on this. And for those of you that don't know, somebody just gave money and said all roads lead to the occult. Yes, it is an occult nation. There's no question about that. Everything that they are involved in is occult. And that's why we have to sort of wake the world up to this very quickly, because they have a lot of power. And the only way that we are going to be able to fight this is by being willing to tell the truth. For those of you that would like to support my work as a journalist, you can head to the website. I do not have a hand of Midas on me.
How convenient, huh?
Next.
See, oh, look at me, Merc. By the way,
Your world. I hate.
by the way,
It's okay.
again, this system is propaganda.
I think.
Now I'm going to show you this real quick because again, we're dealing with a checkerboard, and I'm going somewhere because I think it has to be
Proof Moorish sovereign citizens are agents of what?
It has to be said. This is why us as so-called
White people, IT supremacists.
Hold on. Everybody, quiet. So-called indigenous gente has to deal with this. They're talking about them being operatives. Let's see. Hold on. Where is it at? Is this the video? Hold on a second, family. Give me a moment here. Thought this was a video. There's a video, man, unless they change the title, like, I literally saw the title like differently. Let me see this. Hold on a second. Let me hear something, fam. Oh, great. Now it's having problems, supposedly. Let me hear this real quick.
I think what being exposed here is how much the Zionists have infiltrated all of these institutions that were sold as right-wing culture war institutions like Babylon B, All of these things are all of
Sorry, fam. Apparently, man, it's crazy, dude. Every single fucking time. Like I could record and all this stuff, I can do, but when I get to certain topics, bro, this fucking computer starts acting up crazy. Crazy, bro. Now I want you to pay attention. Testing 1, 2, 3. See what I'm saying, family? Testing. Oh gosh. Well, I guess it's not a topic that I should be talking about, huh? Apparently, that seems to be the problem. I don't know. Maybe I'm going crazy. Maybe it's just me. Hopefully it's just me. It's not a big deal. No pasa nada, right? Supposedly. Glad to be back, family. I'm glad that you guys stuck around. I think there's a few people still. Good, cool. Thank you for sticking around. Thank you for being patient with me. I know sometimes it's a little bit impatient to wait. Now, why am I bringing this up? Let's not forget the topic. The topic is genocidium, okay? The erasure of who you are and who's doing it and how they're doing it. And this does fucking matter, man. Because that means beget a chilling or killing, however you want to read it. Beget a killing. That's what it means. Genocidium means beget a killing. I don't wish this upon nobody, man, especially our gente for sure. We ain't like, listen, this Kabbalah, Talmudic, Freemason, Christian, Jewish doctrine of yours, Islamic as well, all involved, right? Because that's exactly what Psalms 83 is also talking about, man. Who these people would be. Now, I'm gonna bring something to your attention. Who was funding the right? And who is funding the left? Both sides of the aisle, because both people, Democrats and Republicans now, are arguing of the fact that Israel has too much power. Apparently, the story is that Israel, because they gave Charlie Kirk a lot of money, now they control him. You got some of the bag now. Now you're obligated. Well, what was Charlie Kirk and what is Candace Owens pushing? Far-right extreme concepts, anti so-called, not even immigrant, indigenous. Because you saw Lori Loomer, maybe not, posted saying there's enough alligators to eat 65 million illegals. That's how she put it, a so-called proclaimed Jew on the right side, right? They supported those statements. Charlie Kirk did, Candace Owens does, Laura Loomer does. Now, think about this. If Israel was funding Turning Point, who was ran by Charlie Kirk, and this occurred, who told them to be anti-immigrant? The Jews, the so-proclaimed Jews. On the far right, who is Stephen Miller? On the Democratic side, that's why I told you, those people, when they go to their synagogues, they listen to their little rabbi. And if he says, you better vote for Donald Trump, I guess that's how they talk, I don't know. They're going to fucking do it. It's in their Talmud that it's okay to lie to a Gentile. It's in their Talmudic book. I mean, I'm telling you, I could show it. So now, listen to the propaganda and why this matters.
Here is how much the Zionists have infiltrated all of these institutions that were sold as right-wing culture war institutions like PragerU,
Right.
like Babylon Bee. All of these things are getting exposed as really being run by IDF.
In case you don't know, Babylon Bee is ran by Candace Owens. Turning Point was by Charlie's group. Now, check this out. What does B mean in Freemasonry? Check this out. See, I'm not lying, family. This is why you have to do some diligence here. In Freemasonry, the B symbolizes industry, hard work. Bees work together in a role in the hive's functioning, which represents the idea that Masons should be diligent in their labors and strive to be productive members of so-called society, whatever their agenda is. The bee also signifies unity and importance of working together towards a common goal. That's why when you see Candace Owens and you see a Turning Point, and they're both with their 333, their hats, who's funding them? The practitioners of the Talmud.
Have infiltrated all of these institutions that were sold as right-wing culture war institutions like PragerU,
Right.
like Babylon Bee. All of these things are getting exposed as really being run by IDF veterans who are backed with Israeli money. I mean, Turning Points USA was backed with Zionist money, and that's part of why, theoretically, he was getting this kind of pushback. And I think based on Max's reporting, based on what Candace said on her show last night.
In May, Charlie was concerned about Israel and their influence on American politics.
He runs Babylon B. Now, the reason
White people are sick of
the
them.
reason I'm sharing this with you is because all of this is propaganda to confuse you.
Black people.
Because now you know to like I don't know what to believe. First, they fog your mind, then they trick you with false information.
Everybody.
You said sick and dogs on them? What'd you say?
I said that white people are sick of the blacks. Did you know that there were something like 4,000 blacks who own slaves?
4,000 blacks who own slaves?
In Kentucky or
no.
one of those areas.
What source is that? No, what's your source?
You didn't know that?
No,
huh?
What's the source?
All your little black supremacy book, you didn't look that up?
No.
You believe that racism exists?
Yes.
And what is racism?
So racism.
Blacks who own slaves?
4,000 blacks who own slaves?
In Kentucky or
no.
one of those areas.
What source is that? No, what's your source?
You didn't know that?
No,
huh?
What's the source?
All your little black supremacy book, you didn't look that up?
No.
You believe that racism exists?
Yes.
And what is racism?
So racism is the unfair treatment of one group of people based on their race, or the belief that one group of people is inferior solely based off their race. So
you are racist for believing that black people are superior to others?
For saying that we have superior resilience.
Are you a racist for believing that black people are superior to all other races, you said?
No, I'm not racist.
But you just said that was racism.
No, I said that. No, I said.
See this propaganda from different angles, right? Let's continue. Now, I want you to pay attention to this video here. Very interesting video. Makes a valid point. Now we're going to get a kind of like where did they get the concept from? Okay, I actually did a video when I had caught this, what's the guy's name? Inhotep talks. He said something about something, and I did a video. I went back to my notes on it. I was looking for that video, right, that I used, because I was going to kind of use it again. And that dude got rid of that video because I caught his ass using a Nazi source in order to push his stupid agenda. I find a lot of links that I saved, they're erased. Now, I save links because of importance, and they somehow are erased. They either get caught on it or they realize they're getting debunked. So now let's listen to this example of genocidium. When you try to erase the history of another nation, of people, you think you are superior. This is what they call supremacy. This is black supremacy, just like black colonizers. That is a real fucking thing. Stop thinking that it was only gringos, white people. No, it was both of them. And they're doing it again. Or at least
proof Moorish sovereign citizens are agents of YT supremacists.
Good, everyone. I want everyone to see this article by the Southern Poverty Law Center about these Moorish sovereign citizens. You know, those people who claim that Native Americans are Moors and that they are Moors and that everyone is a Moor, which is outlandish, you know, and of course they feel like they don't have to pay taxes, don't need a driver's license, etc., etc. Right? But check out this article, because I did a video a while back about how these Moorish sovereign citizens are actually agents of white supremacists. Yes, and look what I found from this article that dates back to 2011. Check this out. I'm going to scroll up right here. And as you can see, here's one of the, a piece of evidence right here. This man here, Jabbar Gaines L, carries a nationality and right to travel card that includes a tax immune number. This is fraud and a scam. There's no such thing. And what people like these individuals do, they prey on the least educated in our community, the ones who drop out of school, have very little education, can't find a job. Many of them are, unfortunately, addicted to narcotics. And they recruit those type of people in their organization, preaching this nonsense because they don't know that they're being scammed by these individuals. Now, let me scroll up to this part right here. Right here. The core ideas of the sovereign citizens movement originated in the racist and anti-Semitic Posse Comitatus group, which ruled the Midwest in the 1970s and 1980s and believed that the county sheriff is the highest legitimate law enforcement authority. Posse I can't even say this word. Adiagos argued in effect that God gave America to the white man, and therefore the government cannot abridge most rights of whites unless they submit to a contract with that government. But black people were only made citizens by the 14th Amendment, they argued, meaning that they have permanently contracted with the government and therefore must obey all its dictates. The movement of sovereign citizens, most of whom are clearly unaware of the ideology's racist roots, has grown extremely rapidly in the last 2 or 3 years. And while black Americans remain a relatively small fraction of the estimated 300,000 sovereign citizens nationwide, it seems clear that their numbers are growing. In the last year, more and more black sovereigns, including several arrested in Georgia and elsewhere for using bogus documents, I say again, bogus documents to try to steal houses, have been implementing the movement's basic ideas and techniques, which have spread into a number of radical black national groups like these Pretendings, like these FBAs. All they are doing is committing fraud and scams, identity theft, just like these sovereign citizens, these Moorish sovereign citizens. All they do is create forged documents, like you see on social media, on TikTok. They create forgeries, right? Forged documents, Photoshop documents, post them on TikTok claiming, yeah, here's proof right here. We were already here. These are forgeries and these are scams, people. But I'm going to show you a picture of their leader, the Moorish sovereign citizen movement. Their real leader, their real God, their real charismatic individual who started all this madness. Check it out.
A few moments later.
It's William Potter Gale, tax protester and white tea supremacist, right? He is the individual who started the posse, Semitic posse comitatus. As you can see here, look what's behind him. Yes, you see it, a Confederate flag. And this is, right, or this individual right here is the supreme leader, or was, because he's already passed away, but he was the supreme leader of the sovereign citizen movement. The same movement that these Moorish sovereign citizens who keep claiming that they are the real Indians, they get their rhetoric and their ideology from this white tea supremacist. I just want everybody to see that. These Moorish sovereign citizens are the enemy of black people. The enemy of black people. To me personally, they are not black at all. And they most certainly not Moorish. And Moroccans and Mauritanians have now finally spoken up and coming out the woodworks telling these people to stop calling yourself Moor. You are not a Moor. You descend from West Africans who were brought here during the transatlantic slave trade. Coming out the woodworks telling these people to stop calling yourself Moor. You are not a Moor. You descend from West Africans. You are not a Moor. You descend from West Africans. You are not a Moor. You descend from West Africans who were brought here during the transatlantic slave trade. You have nothing to do with the Maghreb. You have nothing to do with the Moorish culture. You have nothing to do with the Mauritanians. You are a descendant of West Africans captives. West Africans who were captives. The slave trade actually happened. The grift is over.
Damn. The grift is over. Let's listen to this real quick here. A system of geography. A dissertation of the generation and various phenomena of the terraquoise globe. 1744. We're not using 1830, 1865 pictures here. Okay? We're not doing that. Now, if we believe what you're saying, then that means that this is a lie. So we're going to read page 530. And we're going to try to understand. Let's see if it's here. Yeah, this is it, I think. Let me read this. Page 530. Okay? It says, regarding trade. We know very little more of Beladergarid or Zoara than those countries, those countries are very barren, and that the people live in tents, ranging perpetually from place to place, and have no settled habitation. As trade to the Negro land, the European nations that are settled on this coast deal with the natives chiefly for slaves. You see that here. So there's local people that have superiority over other people that look exactly the same, that deal with enslaving certain people. And though they may sometimes meet with gold, elephant's teeth, and drugs, but in no great quantity, it has been already observed that during the rainy season in this country, the waters fall in torrents from the hills, washing away the earth, and sometimes great pieces of rock are undermined and come rolling down the stream. I should have taken notice that they have mines of copper, iron, silver, and gold, but none of those are wrought. And as to gold, Guinea is supposed to contain more than any other part of the world. Okay, it's talking about the minerals in those regions. Now it says here, but to proceed, the pieces of rocks being thus removed and cavities with the gold before they lay concealed are sometimes discovered. So he's talking about, the trade and what they find. All right. So now let's continue over here. It says, being brought down by Negro merchants as a season for trading. Again, Negro merchants. This is written in 1744. If they were, how can they call them Africans, so-called Negroes, and then you, so-called, that look like them, are not them, but yet here in America in 1700, 1750, you're also being called a Negro, but you're not them? You're both being called Negroes in both continents. That has to matter, doesn't it? It has to matter, Now, but right here we're talking about merchants, though. At the season for trading, when they expect shipping on the coast, it seems the Christians have taught the natives to be very sharp, or rather rugged traders, for the Negroes mix copper and other ingredients and left value both with rock gold and gold dust. Okay, so he's basically saying, hey, they're pretty savvy when it comes to trading. And predominantly the people that they're trading with are English, Portuguese, Prussians, right? Now, here's where it gets interesting. The slave trade is carried on in much the same manner the gold trade is. The Negro factors and merchants come down. See, the Negro factors and merchants. So there's people there that place a value over you and tell the merchant what you cost. This is in, again, what are we reading? 1744. You like the guy was saying, you are from West Africa. This is your story in a lot of ways. Because I can't say that, since history shows that there was also North Africans. And I mean in West North Africa, Central, and even East North Africa. So I can't say that all of them is one Africa, right? You got to be mindful. But here we are dealing with specific people. Because that's why there were some people called Moors. That didn't mean that you were so-called African. Keep this in mind, that the Moors, quote unquote, were Muslims. And where is that religion from? Right? The religion of Muhammad started around 600 AD. They started progressing towards the north in 711 AD. Right? So let's not forget these things. Now that we have a vast understanding, now we're not just short on, we're just, no, if you guys been watching this channel, you know we've expanded now a little bit and seen, okay, there's a bigger picture to this. So now let's continue. The Negro factors merchants come down to the coast with their slaves and agree with the Europeans for the price of them. And the price of the goods they are to take in exchange. As Guinea has a multiple of petty sovereigns who are frequently at war with each other, you see this. The slaves are generally such as are taken in those wars. See? So it seems like you guys went to war with each other and you would enslave each other and sell each other. Not only men, but women and children. For when they invade a country, with any success, they carry all the country into captivity. Now, that wasn't happening here in the Americas. Definitely prior to 1492. Definitely not. There is also a great many others who are made slaves for debt and for some misdemeanor. And not only the debtor or criminal himself loses his liberty, but sometimes his whole family and all that are related to him. So if, let's say, I owe a debt, my old brothers and sisters and my mom go pay for that shit. And this said people sell even their wives and children when they have offended them. You see this? And this said people sell even their wives and their children when they have offended them. I could see why erasure is important to you. While others lessen their families under a apprehension that they shall not be able to maintain them. So it's like, yo, I can't take care of you, so take them for a slave. Sell your ass. It's like me, just like sell my kids because I don't want to take care of them no more. And if a famine or great scarcity happens, they will sell themselves to one another for bread. It is reported that one of the petty prince on this coast, on some small disgust, petty prince, sold a score of his wives to a captain of a ship at once, parting with them with a little reluctance. How in the world? Do you see now, family, that there's really a lot of transactions going on in Africa or in this region of Africa? And yet some of these people that are here that come from this region claim that this has nothing to do with them. As a grazier does with a score of sheep, and with times of full peace, nothing is more common. So check this out. So even when it's easy, like when there's time for peace, nothing is more common than for the Negroes of one nation to steal others of another and sell them to the Europeans. You see this? Now, they're calling these people Negroes. They have called you Negroes, but you're not the same people? What?
A ver, que alguien me explique. Who are you?
Right. Every single one of you only blames certain people. There have been instances also, it seems, of children selling their fathers and mothers when they have been wary of them and wanted to enjoy what they had. Now, you know damn well, gente, my beloved, that we don't do that shit. We take care of our elders, definitely, for the most part, I think. You know what I'm saying? That's the thing. Here, it's like, yo, I don't want to take care of these fools, bro. I'm going to sell their asses. There have been instances also, not always, but it seems like it happened. It seems, of children selling their fathers and mothers when they have been very wary of them and wanted to enjoy what they had. Holy shit. That's crazy, huh? That's crazy. Which I suppose gave birth to the law by which the children are not to inherit the goods or estates of their father and mother. So then I guess that's why later on they passed a law regarding that very same thing. There are various ways by which the unhappy Negroes are frequently reduced from flourishing circumstances to a state of slavery. Let me read that again. There are various ways by which the unhappy Negroes are frequently reduced from flourishing circumstances to a state of slavery and brought down to the coast to be sold to the merchants of Europe when the price is agreed upon, for which for able-bodied men under 35 years, seems like they had an actual economy in this part of Africa, in Guinea, right, regarding slavery among themselves. The whole story claiming that we were enslaving each other, bro, you got to really dig deep for that history. Maybe be about 5 pounds. The woman is 5 parts less, and the children in proportion to their ages. The European merchants brand them with a hot iron to distinguish them and locks the poor wretched up in some prison so they can be sent on board. So, yes, this is why that guy was telling you. West Africans predominantly suffered this right here. And if you consider the Bible of who was supposed to be in West Africa from the get-go, then you'll understand why we are showing these things and not ripping our heritage back from anybody, just basically saying, yo, you're wrong. I'm looking at your history, and this shows that you're wrong. But let's proceed. When they are shipped off, their former masters strip them of every rag, so that the merchant receives them as perfectly naked, and thus they generally remain till they come to America. See this? Let me read that again for you that think that FBA is for real. That's a moquito. Watch it for it. When they are shipped off, their former masters. Now, that's not Europeans. That's not white folks. That's people among their county, so to speak. They didn't like that hood. They beat that hood up and enslave them fools and everybody else. It says your master stripped them of every rag so that the merchants receive them all perfectly naked, and thus generally remain till they come to America. What year is this book again? 1744. Thank you very much. Our heritage is important, especially when someone else tries to steal it with no proof. And everything's against you. When they are disposed of, some of the Spaniards, you see this, to work in their mines, for the English are obliged to deliver them 30,000 slaves annually by asiento contract, and the rest to the planters in America, north and south. It is taught that the English transport annually nearly 50,000 of these unhappy creatures, the Portuguese about 100,000, and the European nations put together about 100,000 more. Now, think about this for a moment. 1744. Who was enslaving who? If you guys look back at history, you'll be surprised who was the first slaver. Let me pause you for a moment. Just real quick. Because that guy was saying he's supposedly a professor. Supposedly a professor. Hold on, let me minimize this real quick so it doesn't freeze on me, because I don't want it to act down. I had a bunch of these PDFs open. That's probably why I did that. So he says that, where'd you get that information from? All right, let me introduce you to this book. I brought it out a long time ago, but, back in 2022 as well. So, I brought it out a few times recently, but not lately. The Free Negro Owners of Slaves in the U.S. in 1830. You read that again? It's not a typo. Free Negro Owners of Slaves in the United States in 1830. Together with absentee ownership, meaning like they didn't show up to report it, but they mailed in their report. Get what I'm saying? Absentee of ownership of slaves in the United States of 1830. Carter Woodson. The guy said that he didn't believe that 4,000 slavers that happened to be Negro descent or African descent were slavers. He's like, nah, I don't believe that. And that's the problem with BHI. And he's a teacher, by the way. This statistical report on the free Negro ownership of slaves was made possible in 1921 when the director of the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History obtained from the Laura Spelman Rockefeller Memorial in the appropriation for the support of research into certain neglected aspects of the Negro history. Neglected. How convenient. Now do you kind of see the bigger picture? Propaganda, genocidium, beget killing, to kill your spirit, to kill your memory, to kill what belongs to you, your heritage. To genocidium your heritage, basically. This special report, however, was not the objective to the Research Department's association. Now, keep in mind, family, that this is a report of 1830. And we're reading a book over here from 1744, right? Almost like 90-something years later, okay? Keep in mind. And all these people are being transported, all right? And yet we find ourselves here with these people owning slaves in 1830. Now, I want to remind you that in the 1600s to 1700s, and I've done a class on this, it's called the Head Rights Program, where you can basically hire an indentured servant. And based on that hiring, that contract between you and the indentured servant, the state would give you what's called head right, meaning acreage. Let's say, for example, 50 acres per slave or indentured servant, I'm sorry. The majority of the people that were indentured servants were white and black. I'm going to say that right now. The majority. Up until they started enslaving more people in the 1700s. That's why we see this report here. Before it was more, indentured for both, not just one. I've showed you guys in my other classes reports showing that they've been to court and they've argued the case, and this black man sued this white man, and the black man won in court in the 1600s, 1680 something, I believe. Now, this is a 1744 year. Yes, there's a massive amount of transportation of people now being enslaved, perpetually so-called, right? But a lot of them still could, guess what? Be free. Now, what am I comparing? First of all, to answer the question, he thinks that this is not true, that so-called black folks or Negroes or African Americans never had slaves. Let's look through it. Alabama. And here's what the interesting part is. See these last names? Maggs, Harris, Hatcher, Stapleton, Monarch. You would think those are white people last names, right? No, these are all so-called African Americans reporting their slaves. How many they had, and between what age they were. And it's not just in one state, and it's not just in one county. It's in many counties. County here, county there, county everywhere. Now, if you look back at what this book is saying, the previous page, it says that they do this shit to them anyhow over there. Now, it doesn't strike me odd to see it here as well. And again, mind you, it wasn't just so-called black people that were being enslaved. Let's see if I can pull this up. I had to close. Well, first of all, let me remind you, my computer just froze earlier, which is why I had to pause. And I would like to believe it's not like no hacking shit, but I think it has to do with my video card. More likely. Let me show you this real quick. And again, I'm not here to defend anybody, but I do want to speak facts. This is true. White cargo, the forgotten history of Britain's white slaves in America. At this time, that's why they had to pass laws where it said no black, no Jew, no native, no, I think something else more. I think they even said that can enslave a Christian, and we know what that meant. Christians meant white folks. So here we see just basic stuff. In the summer of 2003, archaeologists excavated a 17th century site outside of Annapolis, Maryland, and discovered the skeleton of a teenage boy. Examination showed the boy to have died sometime in 1660. He was about 16 years old and had tuberculosis. His skull shoved evidence of a fearful mouth infection, herniated disc, and other injuries to his back were synonymous with the years of hard toil. The youth was neither African nor Native American. He was Northern European, probably English. His remains were found in what has been a cellar of a 17th century house. You can look through this here. I mean, there are pictures that I've showed you guys. Again, let's not forget, family, that a lot of people that were sent over here were fucking criminals, bro. They were poor people. They were selling themselves. They were just broke. Why do you think they were like, send me the poor and your worst? Propaganda has been lying, pushing lies. So now let's continue. Connecticut, Delaware. So now look, I want to show you something real quick. Kentucky, he said 4,000 people bought in Kentucky, right? I don't know where he got that report, but you know, it's true that there's a lot of people in a lot of different states. All right, it's not just Kentucky. But you see Kentucky, there's like minimal 10, 8, 12, whatever. But remember, keep in mind, this is not hay sacks or fucking bean bags or shit. You know what I mean? This isn't cotton. This is people. These are people that are considered slaves because this is the report they gave. From all the way to Louisiana, all the way down to, I mean, Louisiana got a bunch. Look at that right there. 50, 57. Jean Moulin. 69 for Paulin Verret. 74 to be exact. That's a lot of slaves. These are not not like, you know, boxes. It's not boxes. It's not like 13 a box of merchandise, 13 boxes of merchandise. No. That weighs between 36 to 55 pounds. No, this is 13 people of the age between 36 and 55. So I'm going to have to close the books because I don't want this to freeze. Now let's continue. This is why a lot of people, when they see this and hear this, it's like, what history are we missing that you guys are not hearing? The guy was a professor, so-called Hebrew Israelite. I watched the whole video, by the way. The one that, because the other guy's a Republican. The guy on the right side is a Republican. The guy on the left side that's holding the book, he's I don't know what he is. So anyhow, he's telling them about 4,000 slaves. He's like, where'd you get that source? It's like, what do you mean? You're a professor. You don't know? What? I don't get it. Hey, family, guess what? Let me see. Hold on. This is crazy, dude. Just when I wanted to show.
The Creek Nation has...
Oh, okay, cool. It's working. Okay, so I wanted to show this one. I don't know what's wrong with this one here. Let me start it again. Oh, I know why.
Dollar reparations. Yeah, my people want their power. Reparations. When I'm gone, don't give me flowers. Reparations. When you know what's yours is ours. Reparations. I ain't talking about no.
By the way, just to remind you that the South, right? That flag is from the South, and I don't agree with that flag at all whatsoever. I don't care who it affected more or less. I just know that they'll do that shit to implement that on anybody. So let me remind you that this book here again that I brought out, a little while ago, Free Negroes, right? Free Negro slave owners, free Negro owners of slaves in 1830. Do you know that the states that are reported in this book are all of the Confederacy? Yeah, every single one of them. You see, in 1865, we have reports that show that black folks, just like white folks, fought in the Confederacy, fought with the Confederacy to keep slaves. This is a report from 1830, Delaware. Sorry, this is a little bit further up. My bad. I don't know what's wrong with this. District of Columbia is a little north, right? I'm sorry. Forgive me. Not all of them are the South, but look at this. Come on, man. Stop. Look at the South. Florida. This is crazy, dude. Georgia. Illinois is a little bit more central. Kentucky, a little more. Louisiana in the South. Louisiana is heavy of slaves. That's the South. That's that Confederate flag. These people more likely held up that flag. C.C. McCarty, a black woman, was a Confederate, more likely, because that's the South. And if you owned slaves, that's what you stood for, because that's what the economy was at that time, before things changed. My mistake, it wasn't all the South. You see all over the states, Missouri, New Jersey, New York, North Carolina, let's see, what else? Ohio, Pennsylvania, South Carolina. You see that? The South, you can see the South reported more slaves. Look at that. South Carolina has a lot of slaves. And again, these are all black folks. Tennessee. Tennessee is an interesting topic here, because if you really think, Virginia, look at this, Virginia. So what are we going to say to this? Are we just going to ignore these facts and create fictions using emotional songs to make people believe that that really occurred? How can you determine? What if your own people enslaved you in 1830? What do we do now? Ignore the facts?
reparations. I ain't talking about no dollar. Reparations. Yeah, my people want their power. Reparations. When I'm gone, don't give me flowers. Reparations. When you know what's yours is ours. Reparations. I ain't talking about no dollar. Reparations. Yeah, my people want their power. Reparations. When I'm gone, don't give me flowers. Reparations. When you know what's yours is ours. Oh, it's
That's why I started with the whole Freemasonry concept. Trust and believe that, family. Let's listen to this real quick. Ask me, we'll finish it off with this. The brother here did a video. I think it's interesting. It touches on the stuff that I've been talking about. Be mindful, family, of what we're dealing with. Y'all have a good night, all right? I'm going to shut it off after this. Hopefully the brother doesn't mind. Yeah, I'm going to put it this way. All right, fam. Good night.
Welcome to the series called Dismantling the Pretendians and Culture Vultures, where we expose non-natives who partake in exploitive pretendian behavior and who have agendas to replace the natives. We got shocking news coming out of Oklahoma. Just like some pretendian hunters in Oklahoma have suspected, the leading attorney for the Creek Nation freedmen case has revealed his infiltration and looting agenda, which reeks of pretendian and radical reparationist behavior that typically targets the 5 tribes of Oklahoma. Demario Solomon, a leading attorney for the Creek freedmen case, recently took the case to the Creek Nation Supreme Court and won the case, which allowed all Creek freedmen with a documented paper trail to enroll as citizens with the same rights and benefits that the by-blood citizens enjoy. Soon after winning the Creek freedmen case, Solomon finally revealed his true wannabe Aboriginal and Hotep agenda when he spoke to a pretendian and reparationist online crowd. His goal is to rig the Creek Nation enrollment criteria that will allow the floodgates of the Creek Nation to open up, eventually creating a situation that will make the Creek Nation a majority black populous tribal nation, which will make it easier to earmark much of the land, resources, and benefits to black people.
Talk to us about what's been happening with some of the legal work that you've been doing to secure justice for our people.
Yeah, I have great news. As you know and the audience know, we've been working for many years to get the citizenship and benefits for Black Creek Indians, Creeks of African descent, also known as Creek Freedmen. This is something that's been fighting for 46 years. I've been 25 plus years on it, but it's been an issue since 1979. And on July 23rd, a couple of weeks ago, we got a unanimous 5-0 decision from the Muskogee Creek Nation Supreme Court saying that our treaty rights are enforced and Creeks of African descent are entitled to citizenship within the Creek Nation. What that means for people to understand that that's about 100,000 Creeks of African descent, those individuals like myself. I'm a Creek of African descent. My family came on the Trail of Tears in the early 1830s from Alabama, walked to Oklahoma.
Unfortunately for Mr. Solomon, the facts and reality are not on his side. His claim that today's Creek freedmen population totals 100,000 just doesn't add up, especially if we factor in that only 1,600 black folks were enslaved by some Creek Nation citizens. So how can their descendants grow to 100,000 today? That would require each original slave or adoptive person to have 62 children and grandchildren, which is impossible. It's so obvious that Solomon is dreaming up a plot to rig the Creek Nation Constitution to allow anyone who claims to be a Creek freedman or ancient Black American to enroll, which is just a pretendian infiltration fantasy that will never happen.
Many people, Creeks of African descent, were enslaved by the Creek Nation who adopted European-style economies, including plantations and enslavement of their black members. And Creeks of African descent, many were already here before Europeans came, and others were actually enslaved Africans. But after the Civil War, there are Creeks of African descent that included people that were free, people that were formerly enslaved by the Creek Nation, and the people that was formerly enslaved by the United States and the states who moved over to Indian territory. And those people had citizenship and freedom and opportunities far greater than almost any other black population in the United States of America.
See, here's the thing. A lot of people don't realize we were here when Columbus got here. There were Black Creeks here when the European came here. We're well documented going back to the 1500s. And so don't try to erase our contribution. Don't try to erase what we've done. Don't try to erase our heroes and sheroes within the nation. Let's move forward as one people and let's talk about how we heal. Obviously, healing includes some type of reparatory.
And Creeks of African descent, many were already here before Europeans came.
I hate to rain on your ancient Black American theory, Mr. Solomon, but there is no DNA, archaeological or anthropological evidence to support your theory. The truth is, there have been tens of thousands of geneticists from around the world who have studied tens of thousands of pre-Columbian indigenous sites from across the Americas. Yet, not one study has yielded any DNA evidence of ancient Black Americans, let alone a Black Creek population 500 years ago. Solomon's ancient Creek of African descent claim is ridiculous. First of all, the first black people to appear in the southeast portion of North America didn't appear until the early 1500s. They came as slaves or black conquistadors working with the Hernando de Soto expeditions or with earlier Spanish explorers. Secondly, the Creek people did not exist during the 1500s. That was the ancestral period, as the Creek are the direct descendants of a few Muskogee mound-building nations during the Mississippian culture period. One kingdom called the Coosa are the ancestors of some Creek and Seminole. Demario Solomon is espousing silly, revisionist history. Like that is going to get native Creek people to accept his theory as fact, and another reason to accept the Creek freedmen. Mr. Solomon didn't need his revisionist history to get a win in the Creek Nation Supreme Court. All it took was presenting the 1866 treaty to the court, and that got him a win for the Creek freedmen. So stop with all the silly ancient black American theories. It's not real black history.
And in 1979, the Creek Nation decided we don't want you Negroes anymore, quote unquote Negroes, even though we are Creek, right? We are Native, we're indigenous folks. And now we got it back. So I'm truly excited about it. This means healthcare, education benefits, stipends.
Wow.
It means childcare, housing benefits, employment preferences. All these things are based on being an Indian, which is a political designation, not a racial designation. Very important.
It's so obvious that Mr. Solomon has no respect or interest with the modern-day Creek community and heritage, as he only views the Creek Nation as a ATM machine to get reparations and benefits, which proves that he is only interested in using the Creek Nation to uplift the black community in the region.
That's the great thing about our particular heritage. We're some of the most documented people in the world because every time they would take the land, they would document who the citizens were, et cetera. And so we do have a lot of that documentation. And, you know, just like first of all, being enslaved by anybody for any amount of time is bad, terrible, and should not happen. But there were different differentiations between the Creek Nation's enslavement system and some of the enslavement systems in the South. And you had differentiation between actual enslavement owners. So some people were very, very lenient. I mean, a lot of times they lived on their own plots of land. They kind of did their own thing. They just had to be like an indentured servant. And then you had the actual just sadistic, brutal, violent enslaved holders, raping people. I mean, so that's another thing. You know, you have a huge population of quote unquote mixed bloods. This whole blood language is European, right? It's Western European language, but just to ground us in the conversation, we have a tremendous amount of quote unquote mixed bloods. What's interesting is when the mixed bloods is white, European, and quote unquote native, that's not as big of an issue. But when it's native and got dark skin, oh, now we got a big issue. So
here come that melanin again. Always.
Oh man.
Mr. Solomon, the Creek Nation goes by lineage. It don't matter if you are pure native or mixed with white or black. In 1979, the Muskogee Creek Nation changed their own constitution and adopted by blood laws, which did remove all adoptees such as the Creek freedmen from Creek Nation citizenship. This was not a anti-black agenda move by the Creek Nation. It was a by-blood preservation movement by the Creeks. There were still Afro-Creek and Creek freedmen who had Creek ancestry who remained Creek Nation citizens, which attorney Demario Solomon failed to mention because he has an agenda to smear the Creek Nation as anti-black, as a way to bring the Creek Nation to their knees. Unlike Demario Solomon, there are actually many Creek freedmen who do want to be part of the Creek community and heritage. But there are also some Creek freedmen who hold the same sentiments that Solomon has. It's a great win for the Creek freedmen, but you must come with interests in the Creek community and heritage. If not, there is no reason to enroll into the Creek Nation. Remember, the Creek Nation has already made amends with the freedmen with 160 acres of land that was given to each Creek freedman after the 1866 treaty became federal law.
After the Civil War, you had freedmen living in Oklahoma.
You have a freed black population able to live on tribal lands in a communal way.
The Dawes Act passed in 1887, allowing the federal government to break up tribal lands into individual plots.
Black people in Oklahoma owned more land than in any other part of the country. About 2 million acres of land were allotted to the freedmen. So when you think about 40 acres and a mule and that false promise after the Civil War, black people actually got that in Oklahoma.
Those land allotments become the seeds of more than 50 black towns that emerge in Oklahoma. More than any other state in the country.
Once the 5 tribes received their allotment, then whatever was left, that was deemed surplus, and the government opened it for sale to whoever wanted to buy it.
O.W. Gurley was a Southerner who hailed from Arkansas, who came to Tulsa to purchase land. The land that Greenwood exists on was not land that whites at the time deemed as valuable, but it's land that could be sold to quote unquote a Negro buyer. Gurley purchases an allotment of land. His goal was to incubate a black community.
O.W. Gurley opened a grocery store on what would become Greenwood Avenue. He was really able to tap into a lot of dynamics happening throughout the state where people would be traveling through different communities, and some of the freedmen ended up settling in Greenwood. They were able to provide some of that nurturing wealth.
Land for recently enslaved people is everything, because we have to imagine a world in which an enslaved person did not have property rights in themselves.
In some nations, like the Cherokee and Creek nations, there were actually large factional disputes over the institution of slavery, somewhat similar to like we see in the US. Confederates told the 5 tribes that they would treat them better than the United States did. And so you actually have a battle between the Confederacy and the Union over Native American loyalty. So the Confederates say, we're going to give you congressional representation. We're going to give you a more influential say in governmental affairs. We're going to allow you to keep your land in Indian territory forever without white settlement. So these are the things that they're really kind of picking up on as things that the 5 tribes aren't happy about with the United States. Now, would the Confederacy have actually kept these promises? Probably not. After all, the Confederacy was primarily composed of the states that had forced the 5 tribes to move in the first place, these southern states who really wanted them out. But their entreaties were enticing to the 5 tribes, especially for people who wanted to maintain slavery. And so these 5 tribes split over the war, with some members of these tribes fighting for the Union and some members of these tribes fighting for the Confederacy. And this is important because of what comes immediately after the Civil War. So when the war is over, the United States ignores the fact that some tribal members had fought for the Union, and they ignore the fact that they had actually not sent any kind of military support to the 5 tribes. Instead, they use the fact that some members of the 5 tribes fought for the Confederacy against them. So they point to this alliance with the Confederacy as behavior that was deserving of punishment, and they claim that they were going to stop all of their former treaties made with the 5 tribes unless they created a new treaty. And so they're withholding things from them like monies that are very necessary in this post-war period to rebuild. And they do this until the 5 tribes agree to new treaties, which we know as the Treaties of 1866, because this is when they are ratified. And so these treaties serve as the 5 tribes' official surrender from the war, but also as their reconstruction documents. So I'll explain what I mean by that. So one of the most extreme items in these treaties is the cession of land. And so the 5 tribes have, come from the southeast, on the Trail of Tears, moved to this new place. All this land is supposed to be theirs. Now, only about 30 years later, they are giving it up again to the United States, some of this land. But the other important items in these treaties are related to Black people. And so the United States has the 5 tribes emancipate the enslaved people in their nations, adopt them as citizens, and give them land. And the Chickasaw and Choctaw Nation specifically had to give their former slaves 40 acres of land. Now, most of you know the significance of 40 acres. This is what African Americans in the United States fought for and did not receive. This is a number, a phrase, still used in the Black community to talk about reparations and how the American government failed African Americans. But these are Black people who actually received it. Now, this is the United States coming into 5 other nations, Indian nations that are supposed to be sovereign in any other way. They're supposed to be able to decide their tribal membership. They're supposed to be able to make their own laws, almost everything that any other sovereign nation would be able to do. And the United States is telling them, you have to make these changes because we say so. Now, is this legally right? No. Well, Black people were actually being used in a way as a tool to weaken Native nations' right to make their own decisions about tribal membership and governance. The Cherokee Nation had ordered emancipation in 1863, along with the US with the Emancipation Proclamation. And so they were the only one of the 5 tribes to actually emancipate without direct coercion.
Let me pause it real quick. I'm going to show you something, okay? Because I think it's very important. We showed you this page here. All right? And we saw, what is it, Tennessee, I believe. Let me go back a little bit. Forgive me if it starts. There goes Tennessee. All right. You see that she said the Confederates were pushing the natives west. They didn't want them there anymore. Okay? Now, these things matter, especially now. They really matter. This is a book. that I have here, and I wanted to show this to you guys before, but then we froze. Okay? Here we see something very interesting. Cherokee Land Lottery, containing a numerical list of the names of the fortunate drawers in said lottery, with an engraved map of each district. 1838. Now, why am I saying this? Why does this matter? 1838? Because this is a report, right, of black folks owning slaves of 1830. This book is printed in 1921, but it's from a report of 1830, free Negro owners of slaves. Okay? Here we see in 1838, land lottery taken away from the Cherokee. How interesting, right? How interesting that they take this away from the Cherokee. Now, here's where it gets even more interesting. You see this? These are counties. You see North Carolina, Tennessee. Now, if you go back to the other page, other book, you can find North Carolina. Yeah, well, maybe. Anyways, I can find it. Hold on a second. Let me do it quick. New York, North Carolina. Interesting, right? We have land lotteries in North Carolina. Now, this is even that's North Carolina, Tennessee. We saw in this book Tennessee as well. Okay? Let's not forget what we are looking at. So we have white people that can own slaves, black folks that can own slaves. Supposedly natives were having slaves. Hey, we're talking about what? The percentage, I don't know, bro. To be honest, bro, I don't, man, it's hard to believe that shit, bro. Because of what I've been reading. It's hard to believe that they had the privilege to own slaves. Because after you see laws being passed in late 17 and change, right? No, I'm sorry, late 1690, 1700, in those years, they were stopping people from buying certain people. Okay, so the land of the Cherokee Lottery. Look at this. In 1832, the 10 counties shown are those created in 1832. Broken boundaries taken away from the Cherokee. So let me get this straight. Supposedly, African people that claim to be Cherokee were moved from African people that were slavers. So you guys were doing this to each other here? Is that what you're saying? Because at the same time, it's hard to wrap my mind around this. So you're telling me black folks, you indigenous ones supposedly, that it was also black folks that took your shit? North Carolina. Now, here's where it even gets even more interesting. Well, let's look at the names. Eli Moore, right, of North Carolina. Check this out. Look, how many Moores do we see here? Right? Moore Randolph, Sarah Moore, John Moore, Randolph Moore, Enoch Moore. Enoch? Interesting. John Moore, Randolph Moore again. These are land lots that were given to you people, right? Can you confirm that all of these were so-called white folks? No. Now that we have a better understanding of what can occur. Now that you have a better understanding of what can occur, you cannot set yourself up for failure with people's bullshit. Do you understand what we're talking about here? So-called indigenous people? I'm confused. So now we're seeing that several people were given land. White and black folks. White and black folks were both given land taken from the Cherokee tribes. The same people that are asking for reparations, the same people that are asking for deportation. Reparations, deportations, it sounds the fucking same to me. Reparations, deportations. Fuck, it's a chessboard. It's a checkerboard. It's like I've been saying this. Now, here's what even gets even more interesting. Close this up because I think I've shared that enough. Check this out. This gets even more interesting. Because then you have to really wonder how deep the rabbit hole goes. Check this out. So what do we say about this? Okay? Because again, I think I've shared with y'all enough material to prove this point. The free Negro in Virginia between 1619 and 1865. Do you understand why it says even those years? Number and distribution of the free Negroes. The origin of the free Negro class. Manumission. The legal status of a free Negro. The social status of a free Negro. In 1619. So you lost your heritage when you got here? I mean, I thought you said that it was through slavery that you lost your heritage. Or are these Africans that came and left and are here again? At the beginning of the Civil War, there was a in Virginia. I'm sorry, in Civil War, there were in Virginia nearly 60,000 free Negroes. This number was far in excess of the number of free colored persons and any other of the great slave states, being about double the number in North Carolina, the state which South Virginia had the largest free colored population in Virginia. It was in excess of the free Negro population in any state, slave or free, with exception of Maryland. And in 1860, the entire number of Negroes in New York and in New England combined, but was little greater than the number of free Negroes in Virginia. Now check this out. It says, it must be kept in mind that the free mulattoes and all other free persons having Negro blood are included in the use of the word free Negroes. The term includes the persons enumerated in census reports under the caption, all other than white, free persons except Indians, not tax, okay? In 1771, the General Court ruled that Negro or mulatto, those are not Indians. This is in 1771. So are you telling me that all of a sudden now they're separate? Like, okay, so what are we doing here? If you wobbles, you look at the mirror. I mean, I don't get it. So you look the same, but you're called three different things? Because it says here that the term mulatto, right? Person having Negro blood is included in the use of the word free Negroes. Negro blood, free mulattoes, right? Like that's what they're talking about. Free Negroes. So in 1771, the General Court ruled that Negro or mulatto servants, not slaves, and apprentices were to be considered free Negroes. That's not Indians. It is in this broadened sense that the word is used in work without qualifying words. I mean, let me get this straight. We showed you a book from 1744 where there were people enslaving each other, selling themselves or selling each other to the Europeans. Those people come over here. And then we read that there were free Negroes in 1619 through 1865. Now, in case you don't remember, there's a gentleman by the name of Anthony Johnson. You know, and a lot of times people like just forget about this guy. And somehow, some way they don't want to talk about him. And you know, again, it goes to show how deep the rabbit hole goes, and how people are willing to erase your heritage, because in their eyes it don't mean shit. You don't mean shit. That's really what it means. Okay, so this is from one of the books I have. Let's read this part here. Free blacks became slave owners early in our history. Free blacks became slave owners early in our history. Indeed, one of the first known legal sanctions of slavery, other than as punishment for crime, involved a black owner in 1654. Anthony Johnson and his wife Mary in a court suit against the service of their black servant John Kaser for life. Actually, slave owning by free Negroes was so common in the period of the Commonwealth as to pass unnoticed without criticism by those who consciously recorded events of the time. John H. Russell, in his Free Negroes in Virginia, matter of fact, there's also another one called Virginia, the Old Dominion. It says 1619 through 1865, wrote, the most remarkable property right possessed by the free Negroes was the right to acquire, own, and alienate slaves. Help me understand the song that you've been pushing. Reparations or deportation? Because the white man says deportation, the black man says reparations. Both of you motherfuckers have been enslaving people since you both showed up. I'm not just saying that because, I feel, because that's what I think. No, I'm fucking reading it myself. Indeed, for more than 20 years, from the time when free Negroes first appeared in the courts, there was no legal restriction upon their right to own indentured white servants. Hold on a second.
Gotcha, bitch.
In Virginia, by the way. So black folks were enslaving white folks. They were also enslaving our indigenous people. There were black slave holders in Boston as early as 1724. Remember the book that I brought out earlier, Freemasonry of 1717? The first lodge was in 80 or 96, 86 or 96, the first Freemason lodge, Prince Hall. Matter of fact, let me look it up. Prince Hall Mason opening day. Look, I'll show you. Prince Hall Mason started their masonry in 1775 when Prince Hall and 14 other black men were initiated into masonry. There were black slave holders in Boston as early as 1724. We didn't even know how to read and write. We only were taught the fucking Christian compendium. Like us. Not the elitists. Us. There were black slave holders in Boston as early as 1724, in Connecticut by 1783, in Alabama by 1796. 1796, remember that, fam? Among the earliest records in the deeds book of St. Augustine, Florida, in a document recording the sale of a black slave to a free black by a free black. So a black person sold another black person to another black person. Get out of here with your fucking bullshit lies, man. We are sick of your fucking lies because first of all, you can easily get caught when you start reading. But by 1790, 48 Maryland black owners possessed 143 slaves, black, white, and native. Nate Butler, a free black who lived near Aberdeen in Hartford County, owned a small farm and regularly purchased and sold Negroes for the Southern trade. Now, again, what year is this? 1790, right? Remember the book I brought out earlier? How that was in 1744, right? And then we see here that in 1830, 38, 32, the Cherokee Nation is being robbed and slaughtered and pushed away, pushed to the west because these lands were being taken by white and black folks. Probably the same ones that are sitting around claiming that they are the true natives, like these Atlantis individualites. Then it says here, some considered black slave owners hard taskmasters and claimed, I'm not saying it, they're saying it, free black owners were, as a usual thing, much more severe on their slaves than the white owners. Negroes who owned slaves, get that book. Colored freemen as slave owners in Virginia, get that book. Free blacks in the other New World nations also own. Definitely get that book, because this is showing you how important this is. Okay, fam. Listen, I'm gonna actually not probably. I'm gonna call it a night because this thing keeps fucking around with me, and I'm not frustrated. It's upsetting because I'd wanted to finish, and because I had to accidentally close some of these windows. It may take me a little bit of time to find them again, but I think I've showed enough to where it should suffice. We did leave in the. Hold on. Oh, that's right. We left here. Let me finish it for the sake of the brother's work, and hopefully it doesn't pause on us. But I think I've showed enough material to express to you guys how flawed this doctrine is. It's so easily destructive. I mean, destroyed. It can be easily destroyed. All you need to do is just bring the material, and that's really it. And I've showed you guys documentation here clearly that this is a serious thing. Okay? So next time somebody tries to tell you about supposedly that, you know, you don't know what you're talking about, like, you got to go bring your books. Free blacks were slave owners for more than 200 years. Something to that effect. I'm going to look for this book. I know I have it somewhere. Just got to look at the so it looks like it's a Google book maybe. Anyhow, all right. So let's continue. You guys have a good night. I will hopefully see you next class. You guys, all right? Appreciate y'all. Thank you very much for watching in, man. All right, family. I'll take care. Good to have you here, brother. What up, Lameshi? Good to have you, Karen. And good night, bro. All right.
In a way, as a tool to weaken Native nations' right to make their own decisions about tribal membership and governance. The Cherokee Nation had ordered emancipation in 1863, along with the U.S. with the Emancipation Proclamation. And so they were the only one of the 5 tribes to actually emancipate without direct coercion. But without U.S. intervention, we don't know if the other tribes would have ever emancipated their slaves. And so these freedoms, these rights, and especially this land, put the former slaves of the 5 tribes on a different plane than African Americans in the United States. It gave them different opportunities. And these opportunities are why so many Black people from the United States flocked to Indian Territory after emancipation. This Black migration is why Oklahoma Black towns exist, and it's why Black Wall Street existed. Now, I know many people just learned about the Tulsa Massacre thanks to Watchmen or Lovecraft Country, but these shows and even a lot of the articles that follow them trying to kind of explain this event miss this deeper history of the region. African Americans came from the South to Indian Territory and later to Oklahoma because the United States had forced Indian nations to recognize Black rights and to give them a sort of reparations. They had forced Indian nations to do something that they themselves were unwilling to do. And so we can only truly understand the Tulsa Massacre if we know about and understand the Black and Native people who lived in Tulsa and the broader region before. Now, what I argue in my new book is that even though life in Indian Territory was not perfect for Black people, there was no large-scale white violence, and there was no large-scale attack on their right to vote, for example. And so Black people are serving on juries and voting and building homes and communities in Indian Territory through the 1890s, while African Americans in the South have seen their ability to exercise their rights and live freely really decimated by this point. At the same time, as they moved, these Black migrants sometimes brought with them negative and harmful ideas about Native Americans. And these are ideas that they've taken from whites. For example, many African American leaders, including Frederick Douglass, spoke about how Native Americans were uncivilized. And so he argued that Black settlement in places like Indian Territory would improve the West. Now this, in effect, was promoting colonization. This was not living in kind with Indian brothers and sisters. This was not advocating for a multiracial democracy, but rather this was disparaging Native people.
Is that not happening still? Is that not happening still? You see how history repeats itself if you don't fucking know who you are, according to our history? Before we're anything else, we need to know our history of indigenous people. Before I can even talk to you about Hebrewism, you need to know of your indigenous root and what occurred to you before you can understand the rest of that shit. Let's continue. We're almost done.
To argue that Native Americans were not the ideal residents of the West, but instead African Americans were, because they were more willing to assimilate to white American culture. And so Black settlement in Indian Territory is more complicated than the celebratory narrative of, say, Black Wall Street. Some Black people bought into and disseminated racially prejudiced ideas about Native people. And some Native people adopted chattel slavery and anti-Blackness. But these were two groups, Native people and Black people, who were both trying to survive, both trying to win at an unwinnable game of succeeding in a white supremacist society.
Another group of people also seek sanctuary among the Seminoles. blacks fleeing the horrors of slavery in the United States. In Spanish Florida, the runaway slaves join other blacks working and living with the Indians.
It became quite a thing to flee into Florida by the hundreds, and it was quite productive. They could raise crops right next to the Indians. They married Indians. They became a part of the frontier. They raised their families. They raised their grandchildren, and they died right here in Florida.
What's more, there is the burning issue that refuses to die: slavery. Many slaveholders fear that the presence of escaped blacks in Florida will incite slave insurrections. Whites are permitted to search the reservation for runaways. Often, they steal away blacks who have never even been slaves. But the Seminoles will not betray their allies and friends, and the blacks are determined to stay free.
This had been like a piece of heaven to them. They had built, they had harvested, they had reared their children, and here were a group of people coming in saying that we own you.
Throughout the 17th and 18th centuries, a handful of families in each tribe intermarried and traded comfortably with Europeans. They abandoned tradition and were more comfortable speaking English than their native languages. They owned plantations and slaves and sent their children to school in Paris, London, or Charleston. In the upside-down history of the times, they emerged as leaders of our tribes because they could speak English and were comfortable in the halls of Congress. But in 1812, with tribal lands overrun by settlers, a movement for the defense of land and culture caught fire among the thousands of Muskogee Creek who had continued to live traditional lives. Led by Red Eagle and Manawi, the movement came to be known as the Red Sticks because of the crimson paint on their war clubs. They also opposed slavery and sheltered runaway slaves from plantations throughout the South. They waged war on frontier settlements.
But nothing strengthens their bond more than a common enemy: the white Americans.
Okay. All right. So you guys get the picture. I apologize for the freezing. I'm going to try to see if I can get this computer fixed before I do any other class. Maybe that's the problem. Y'all have a good night. And I'm not going to play any songs. I'm just going to cut it. All right, fam? So enjoy yourselves. Rest well. Enjoy, I guess, the Sunday coming up. And then, time to do it again. Good night.
Y cal, hijo, abre los ojos. Tu cuerpo queda con nosotros, pero tu espíritu debe seguir. Búscala. Aléjate de las sombras. Deja que nuestro dolor sea su fuerza. Desde aquí dominamos tu camino. Lucha como nosotros antes de la pelea tan grande. Yo soy tú. Tú eres yo. La muerte que hoy nos separa, mañana volverá a unirnos. Eres libre, hijo.